Anytime it's like binder check or study guide day in algebra, then today's like the last full hour in math lab that I'm giving you time to work on your study guide. So, um, side note, these learning targets are over the entire unit. Today we didn't do a specific lesson. You just looked over your study guides. I answered questions that you had at that time. You're allowed to ask questions as you go today. Otherwise, I'll check in the last 30 minutes and see what we are all struggling with at that time too, but that doesn't mean you need to wait. If you don't ask prior to the test, then like how will you know how to do that problem? It's very the same skills. So make sure that we are using that to its full potential. I'm going to update this because I have a better slide that shows what your study guides are. Because you kind of technically have 4 resources to help you. So let me pull that up. So you have these first 2 study guides, which are mandatory. Like if you don't do them, they will be marked as missings. Those are closely aligned to each portion of the test that you'll be taking tomorrow. So like the online part and the paper part. The key to the paper one, I just made visible. So check your answers. I mean, if you just copy it to get your homework points, that's good for you. But remember, homework's only worth 10%. Like you need to know how to do it. So copy it, don't copy it. You need to be checking your answers for it. It's visible now, right at the top of Schoology. You can't miss it. And then these other 2 things are extra credit. So you have this other optional study guide that helps you with the online part. That one's different practically every time you take it, but it is really representative. Like if how you're doing on there is probably how you'll do on the real thing. The other one is extra credit in the project category, so it's worth a lot, like way more than homework. But it just depends how many skills you actually do. When you do those skills, you need to score 90 or higher, take a picture, send it to me through that assignment link that's in Schoology. And so say you missed a lot of points on your binder check, that can remediate some of that. Otherwise, if you miss points on your binder check, the other option is to redo them and resubmit them. Questions on anything I said? Okay, you need to get 80% or higher on the first 2, the ones that are required. So that way you can get your assessment points in Math Lab. So it's an assessment grade, you doing your study guides. So whatever you were missing before, prioritize these now. You need to get 80% or higher. I can delete an attempt if you need another one on that first one. Questions? Okay, so I'll leave you to it. You can ask questions as you go. Otherwise, I'll check in again around 12:40. So I am recording all my classes, including this one. Maybe they ask different questions and you want to see those explanations. If not, then make sure you email because if you don't know before you take your test tomorrow, you might never know. You'll just struggle again. But we're having to drag and drop the correct steps into the boxes to show how to solve this equation. Note that there can be more than one way to solve. So we're gonna follow a certain format that I think works all of the time, but we might just have to stop at each step and see what our answers say. So what do you usually do first in solving? The first step. So the first step is to distribute if necessary. Do I need to distribute in this one? Yes, because I have something set up in this format where we have a number outside parentheses being multiplied by either adding or subtraction in the parentheses. So when that happens, you take the outside number multiplied by each term inside. You can use a calculator for it. So if you are using a calculator, like we're doing 3/4 times 2x, these are the buttons I would press. And then I would get my answer. It won't do the x's for you. You have to remember to put the x back on. But when I do that, so 3/4 in parentheses and then times 2. I don't want to split screen right now, so that's why I'm doing it off to the side. I get 1.5. And then I have to remember to put the x back on because my calculator won't do the x for me. All right, and then we're doing 3/4 times 8. These would be the buttons I press. And when I do that in my calculator, I get 6. And it's positive, so I'm going to put +6. We had this there already, so I'm just going to copy it over. All we did so far was distribute. Any questions on that step? So sometimes they don't distribute first. Sometimes they go a different way of solving it. So let me just see if this is a viable step 1 according to this. And I do see it. So I am going to drag and drop it. In the past, they've like wanted you to cancel out the fraction to begin with, which I don't know, that to me isn't like a great first step. It's not a wrong first step, but we made the test a bit easier that it follows like the natural instructions. Distribute if necessary. After distributing, you might have to combine like terms. So it's combine like terms if necessary. So you won't have to all the time. Like in this one, I don't have to. They are not like terms. What comes next though for this problem? After you distribute if necessary, combine like terms if necessary, what do I have to do after? Be more specific. Why do I need to subtract? What am I subtracting? Okay. Generally, before we start trying to isolate x, we want to do this. If I see variables on both sides, I want to move the variable to one side. It's not necessarily wrong to subtract 6 at this step, but like if we're trying to isolate x, we need to have x on this one side. So move variable to one side is what we're going to do now. Does it matter which one you move? What do we usually recommend you do? The smaller one, so it's less likely you have to deal with the negative. So I would move the 1.5x. I would move it by subtracting it, because we have to make it cancel on this side, and we cancel with it being 0 plus 6, right? So subtracting it, whatever you do on one side, benefits, whatever I do on one side, you do to the other side. That's me moving the variable to one side, like canceling it out, and then combining my terms, I guess. What's 4.5x minus 1.5x? Good. Now it's way easier to solve. Step 4 is when you isolate the variable, and that might be a 1 or 2 step equation, like what we initially started with unit learning. Started with farther from the x, and just when I only have the 3 to get rid of, what's opposite of multiplying by 3? And I get that x equals what? Now, the only like, I guess, extra hard part about this is I have to see if their steps align with mine. Like we can have different steps and they still be appropriate steps, I guess. But if you follow this structure, you will get the correct answer for x. So I'm going to go with that x equals 2 is my last step. My middle step would have to be something where it becomes like 6 equals 3x. And let's see if that matches my p. And it does. So I can't remember if it's a drag and drop on the test online. I know that I do check your papers for that one. If you solve it right, I'll at least give you one of the 2 points for it, but there can be more than one way to solve that, still correct. Questions on that? Questions on others? Any study guide? Amy? Questions? Flag. Okay, so Noah is buying a pair of jeans and using a coupon for 25% off. The total price is $86.50, which includes $2.75 in sales tax. His purchase can be modeled by this equation. So you're interpreting these parts in relation to the real world. It says, what does the X term represent and which expression represents the total cost of the jeans before tax? So for the coupon is adding or taking away from the price. Do coupons add or take away from the price? Okay, so whatever it is, it's gonna be minus the 25% off. Typically, we show that as a decimal. And we have to times it by your original price, which do we know what the original price is? Does it say anywhere in this description? So that's gonna be an unknown. That's probably what this X represents. So the X is my original price. Since I am multiplying it by the coupon, the 25% off, so that was my original price. That is what we do in the real world. Not sure if you like go shopping yourself. But if you have a coupon, that's how you figure out your discount. So which one matches the description of original price? Is it cost of the jeans before the coupon, cost of the jeans after the coupon, or total cost of the jeans with tax? Okay, the cost of the jeans before the coupon. Which expression represents the total cost of the jeans before tax? So let's look at our options. The $2.75 was the sales tax. So that wouldn't make sense to have that be the expression before the tax. So I'm not going to pick that first one. The second one has it as original price minus the discount we got. So no involvement of the tax in there. So I'm kind of leaning toward that second one, but let's see the rest. This one has like the discount plus tax, which we would never do in the real world, and that's not before tax. So I'm going to pick that. And it says the total price, which includes the sales tax, is $86.50. So I'm not going to pick that one. This one is the only one that is before the tax. That's my original price minus the coupon discount. Sales tax adds to the price. So, yeah. Questions on this question? And then Austin, number 2 on this one? Or what was that? What was it? Oh. Go ahead. All right. Any other questions? From any study guide, did you figure out the one of you asked me about the one on the constructor response test? Did you figure out how to solve that graphing? No request right now there? Yeah. Well, if you think of one, let me know. It's okay to not know all the time, but again, if you don't ask before the test, you'll never know. So just make sure you ask. We still have like about 20 minutes in class.